Okay, so now I'm going to go over some of the external structures. Okay, so again, this big area here, that is the cerebrum. The line down the middle, that is the longitudinal fissure, so longitudinal as in lengthwise. And you can see that I still have a little bit of arachnoid matter on here, so if you kind of gently break it apart, see how that spidery stuff? That's the arachnoid matter. So you can go ahead and gently break through that to look inside. Okay. So let's go over the matter, the meninges. Okay, so here's the dura mater. And then the arachnoid matter is going to be mostly removed, so we won't really see it on your specimen. But you can see the pia mater. Where is pia mater usually found? So pia mater is going to be on the organ itself, right? So this right here that I'm kind of gently tugging on, that's the very kind of delicate outer layer around the brain itself. So that is the pia mater. Here's some pia mater. Okay, so this would be the longitudinal fissure. We're going to be cutting along the longitudinal fissure in the next video segment. Cerebrum, and the cerebrum has two cerebral hemispheres, so these are the two cerebral hemispheres. You can also look at the lobes. The front lobe is going to be the frontal lobe, and you see how there's sort of a it's a sulcus. So the sulci or sulcus is those are the grooves. Okay, so sulci is sulci or sulci, how I want to pronounce that. Those are that's the plural form of the shallow grooves. Okay, so a deeper groove is a fissure. The shallow grooves are sulci or sulci, and a singular one would be sulcus. Okay, so this one right here, see how this shallow groove is a little bit deeper than other shallow grooves, and so that right there would be the central sulcus. Okay, so the central sulcus, and so in front of the central sulcus, that would be the frontal lobe, and then behind it would be the parietal lobe. So kind of think back to your bones, think of that kind of general the same thing. So frontal in the front, parietal at the top of the skull right here, and then this area here, kind of where your ears would be, your temples would be, that would be the temporal lobe down in there. And then this area in the very back, that would be the occipital lobe. Okay, so let's go through, and so this is the longitudinal fissure, so this area that kind of goes side to side is the transverse fissure. Transverse fissure, it's going to be between the cerebrum, which is again all of this, and the cerebellum, which is this part right here. Okay, so let's look at pre-central gyrus and post-central gyrus. I kind of skipped that part. So the groove itself is the central sulcus. This one's damaged, but it's right about here. And so in front of that, you'll have a gyrus. So if sulci, those are the grooves, the elevations that are created from those grooves would be gyri or gyrus if it's singular, so gyri if it's plural, gyrus if it's singular. So the pre-central gyrus is just going to be the one on the frontal lobe, the gyrus next to the central sulcus, and then the post-central gyrus is the one after the central sulcus, and that would be on the parietal lobe here. Okay, let's see. I think we're done with this side here. Let's flip it over. Now, I feel really unfortunate because my particular specimen was quite beat up in the process, and so I'm missing some of the really important structures, like this right here. This would be the olfactory tract. Now you can see just a tiny little bit of my olfactory bulb. So see this enlarged part at the end of the olfactory tract. So here's the olfactory tract. There's a little piece of it there. A little enlarged part at the end, that would be the olfactory bulb. Mine came just really smashed up. but still you can see a little bit of it. So here's the olfactory bulb, olfactory tract right here. Okay, so notice that a tract means that it is part, it's a white matter tract, which means it is part of the central nervous system, so part of the brain itself. And it's different from a nerve because nerves would be part of the peripheral nervous system. Okay, so this is olfactory bulb, olfactory tract, going kind of posteriorly. See, mine again is destroyed a little bit. You should see a cross structure. Okay, a cross structure, and so remember that in front of the cross is the olfactory nerve. At the cross point itself is the olfactory olfactory is not the right word, optic nerve, optic chiasma, and then optic tract. Optic as in eye, for the eye. Okay, and then following it back, right, see this kind of darker area, you might see like a little dot structure. This is the infundibulum, and the infundibulum is the little stalk-like structure that used to be connected to the pituitary. So again, we remove the pituitary. Here it is. There's the pituitary still embedded in the dura mater. And the pituitary would sit right here, and the infundibulum is the little stalk-like structure that connects and holds on that pituitary gland. And then just posterior to that, we have this rounded structure here. Okay, see this rounded structure? Now for humans, this structure would have two little rounded bulbs, two little mounds, but for the sheep, it's just one singular little mound. Wow, I got dog hair on there, that's weird. Get that off. Okay, one little mound, that would be the mammillary body. Okay, so remember, it looks like mammillary glands, but for sheep, it's just one rounded structure, so that's the mammillary body right there. Okay, so this kind of no man's land between the mammillary body and where once you're getting into the brainstem area, remember the brainstem has two bumps. The first big bump is the pons, and the second big bump is the medulla oblongata. So pons, medulla oblongata. For humans, the pons would be the bigger bump and the medulla oblongata would be the smaller bump, but it's opposite for sheep. Okay, so we have the pons, the first one, and the second one is the medulla oblongata, and this structure sticking out at the end would be the spinal cord. So the area between the mammillary body and the pons, that is the cerebropeduncle, peduncle. That's that right there. Okay, also known as the midbrain right there. Okay, anything I'm forgetting? Okay, so again, here's the spinal cord. Oh, now, we forgot this structure here. So if you take the cerebrum and the cerebellum and gently kind of separate them from each other, you can break through some of the arachnoid matter if there's still any present. You'll notice the structure down in there. And there's the whole kind of two bumps. Okay, see if I can fold it gently and hold it at the same time. So see how there's like one bump and then two bump? The whole thing is called the corpora quadrigemina. Corpora as in body, quadrigemina, which means the four twins. Okay, so quad as in four, gemina as in twins, like Gemini. And if you kind of break through the tissue here, and it's just arachnoid matter, we can remove all that. You'll notice this little kind of pea-like structure right up in there. See the little pea-like structure deep in there? That's the pineal gland. Okay, so that right there, that is the pineal gland. That's going to monitor and affect your sleep cycles. Releases melatonin. So pineal gland in there, corpora quadrigemina. Now the corpora quadrigemina has two parts. The top one, which is the bigger bump, is called the superior colliculi. Colliculi if you're talking about both of them. Colliculus if you're talking about just one. Colliculus is a singular version. Oh man, all my brain is so smushed up. I wish I had a better specimen. So here is the superior colliculi, both of them, and then the inferior colliculi, all collectively again. Corpora as in body, quad as in four, germina as in twins. Corpora, quadrigermina. And then the little pineal gland in there. Okay, that is all of the external structures that you need to know. By the way, if you were wondering, these right here, those are going to be the ocular motor nerves, and you don't need to know them for my class.